Welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hopes that we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week and leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory.
Well, hello.
Hello. We are at the end of the season.
Doop-a-doop-a-doo.
So this is our rest stop wrap up.
Yeah,
that's the
I
one.
think we generally call it the rest stop, right? We're
Yeah.
resting, we're stopping, we're taking a break.
We're taking a supernatural break so that we can process what we just spent the last year watching.
Oh god, it is that long as well. I tell you, yeah, you're right, it is that long. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So we just finished watching season 6.
We did. And it was there. It was there.
It happened to us.
Something like that, yeah. Something like that. So we have like our usual little structure thingy that we go through. So I guess we can start with our favorites and then kind of go from there.
That's a good idea. Oh, I will say there's a huge storm outside while I'm recording, so the wind is blowing. You might not be able to hear it, but it is. Just to add some atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. We are still in Purgatory. We don't know what the weather's going to be like.
Yeah, exactly. It's really like, I think they said it's like 50, 60 kilometer per hour winds.
Damn. That is crazy.
It's windy.
Yeah.
I walked outside today and my hair is like flying everywhere and it's so windy and it's so British. I walked past another person who was like, whoa, we're just like, it's a bit windy.
Yeah, that's the only thing you can say though, isn't it, really?
What else can you say? It's a bit windy, isn't it?
Windy. Yeah. I get swept off into Oz. Anyway, tangents. And we're not even in it yet.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first with your favorite episode? I think I could guess, but I think we can all guess.
That predictable. No, it's the man who would be king. Come on, Annabelle. How long have we done this?
How
long? Yes. I think I like it for all the reasons that I laid out in the episode that we did on it, which is a long one.
Yes.
But it's really refreshing to see from Cass's point of view. I think Ben Edlund really gets Cass as a character. I would have liked to have seen him do more Cass stuff, I think. And if we didn't have that episode, I don't think the whole season would make sense. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm pretty critical of this season. I don't think it makes complete sense altogether.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like the story's not great, but I think this is a highlight of the story and kind of does explain things somewhat. I just wish they'd carried some of the themes in it into later episodes. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what I like it, but I find it really frustrating because it's like it's such a good episode that's in like the middle of the season that like the storyline's a bit weak.
Yeah.
But this is like top tier storytelling for Supernatural. But I would like that it's like movie quality writing. I feel this bit like it could come out of like a section of a movie and like all the cinematography in it is really nice. Oh, that bit in the. It's not even in a barn, but like I feel like it should be in a barn, like where they trap Cass in the like holy fire. Mm-hmm, it should have been in a barn. Like I feel like that would have been such good parallel storytelling when they first meet him, to him like becoming an enemy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then like Dean looks back and it's all so sad, and it's like it's your best friend and he's betrayed you, and but he's done it for all the right reasons. He's just like naive and prideful and misled by others around him, maybe. Mm-hmm.
And manipulated as well.
Exactly. And I think the winning part of season 6 is that it's really character development for Cass that carries on through the remainder of the season. It's like you can point back to this and be like, this is why he acts this way.
Yeah.
And I think that's really good.
So I feel like that is kind of, I guess that's the good point of season 6, is that it is the like a pivotal moment for each of them. So Cass, Dean, and Sam, because they're each trying to make up for the mistakes that they made in this season.
Yeah.
Or the things that happened to them and with them in this season.
I think this season actually has more ramifications for their characters than seasons 1 to 5.
Yes. But that is that because
ultimately,
that's the way they decided to write it? Or because it's a natural storytelling, like, not event, but like progression?
Yeah, I think, well, this is it for season 6. I think season 6 was like a tonal shift, which is maybe why I don't like it, because it's like new and it changes things. But I do think that it's almost like a conscious shift into like new supernatural. But then they decided to kind of carry that on, I think. And I understand why people don't like that shift as well. Like, I think there's seasons 1 to 5, and then there's almost like seasons 6 to 15. Like, they feel like almost in some ways different shows at points. I think.
I think we've also talked of like a 5-season cycle, because I do feel like it changes again when Jack comes in as well.
You're right, actually. No, that's probably true. I mean, obviously it changed. We talk about eras in terms of showrunners, right, as well. And there's also those shifts between them. But yeah, definitely. Because the mythos changes so much, I think, between seasons 1 to 5 and then 6 to 15. And like I said, season 6 was almost like, this is the direction we're going in now. You've kind of got to like it or leave.
Yeah. You're not going to get whatever we had before.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so it's my favorite episode is The Man Who Would Be King, for all the reasons that I laid out before. I think I've done it to death, but that would be it. And like, if I do ever get that tattoo, I'll post a picture of it and let you all know.
Sounds good.
Well, what about you, Annabelle? What was your favorite episode of the season?
So it's funny that you chose an episode that is from another perspective, because mine is the same thing. Outside of the obvious, because obviously The Man Who Would Be King was the best episode of the season. There's no doubt about it. But I think Weekend at Bobby's is like a close second.
Yeah.
Because you do get this whole other look at like another aspect of hunting, and also because I love Rufus, and Bobby and Rufus's relationship is like one of my favorite in Supernatural, and I'm just so sad that it's like gone now and it's never coming back. And it's just like, because he's not even in like alternate universe either, you know?
No,
which is a shame. But yeah, season 6 had the chance to experiment with a lot of things which we may not have been able to do before. But for some reason, I feel like some of these things that they tried to do just then got like put to the wayside, because I can't really think of another. I'm not the best one to try and think of episodes either, but like, I don't feel like there's another like Weekend at Bobby type episode where.
No, I don't think so.
It's from a character's perspective that's not Sam and Dean. And yet, when they add more characters in and they have more opportunity to do that, they some reason don't. And it's just like,
there is one. Is there not an episode later on that's like Jodie and Donna? Mostly follows them. I think there is. Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
I can't remember how much is just their perspective and not, but I don't feel like it's as much as at Weekend at Bobby's.
No.
Sure.
And again, like, well, obviously, like, that's yeah, no, you're right. I forgot about that one. And we do get we kind of get one a bit from like Claire and alternate universe girl. I can't remember her name right now.
Kaya? I got that wrong, definitely.
I do feel like it begins with a K. I feel like there's some of that as well. But they're not to me, very compelling episodes. And maybe it's because we don't know them very well.
Yeah, I think so. Like, they're not given as much... The problem is they're not given as much screen time as, like, Bobby was given before this, where you're, like, kind of wondering what's going on with them. I think those episodes are more reintroducing those characters to us. Like, hey, remember these guys? Whereas, like, guess what this character gets up to when, you know, Sam and Dean aren't with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I like Weekend at Bobby's too. I think it's a really solid episode.
Yeah. And just, I think it's so funny with like seeing Bobby trying to be like a ladies' man and it going horribly wrong.
But like they established him in season 6 as like this like heartthrob. Like all the ladies are after Bobby.
Yeah, with Dr. Vizak as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
It's like,
clearly has a type too. They're all blonde women,
that's true. That's
including his wife, right?
Yeah. he didn't go the Sam route of like completely changing his type after a traumatic event.
No, that's it. Yeah, he went blonde, then brunette. But Bobby was like, no, blondes all the way.
All the way down the line. So yeah, that's my favorite is Weekend at Bobby's.
Solid choice, to be honest.
No.
Oh, yeah. And then we normally talk about our favourite character moments. So, I don't know. Dean had a lot of... We'll go with Dean first, because he's first on my list. There are a lot of good moments for him in this season.
There are.
The only one I can think of, and it's such a cliche, is when he's in the French Mistake, wiping his face, saying, I'm a painted whore. And I don't know why I like it so much. I feel like I'm reclaiming the word, and I know that Supernatural has not, but I quite enjoy it as a word.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's this one, and there's also, which I'll talk about later, is where Crowley goes to Cass like, a whore is a whore is a whore. I love that too. There are two good ones. Yeah. Oh, and the other time he just says like herpes. That's a very good one too. I'm such a child.
Okay, well, I'm going to take it in a completely different direction.
Oh no, you're going to go serious. I went stupid this time. I was like, okay, fine.
No, yeah, I'm going serious.
Bringing it up. Bringing the tone up.
Bringing it down. I'm making it sad. But it's basically anytime Dean interacts with a family member. So it's like Dean with Cass, Dean with Ben, Dean with Lisa, Dean with Bobby, Dean with Sam. Like, just each of these like really heartfelt moments with them, and just like not the first half of the season with Solar Sam and those moments, but like when Sam gets his soul back and he's like, oh, my brother's back, and like he has all these like little sort of micro expressions of like happiness, and you're just like, oh
yeah.
And just like the first episode where he's with Ben, showing like the montage of him and Ben together, like looking at the car and stuff like that. And then of course, you know, you get the last 3 episodes of the season and every moment with Cass.
Yeah, there's a lot of intense eye contact with Cass. That is true, actually. Some of my favourite Dean moments in this season are him sticking up for Cass when he doesn't believe that he's betrayed him, and he's like, no, it's Cass. Like, he wouldn't do this to us. Like, I can't believe he would. And then like the slow realization that he is working with Crowley. It just takes him so long to get there when like everyone else is ready to believe that Cass has betrayed them. Like, how else are we supposed to not like see their relationship? Because when you compare it to others in the show, it is different.
It is. It's completely different. Like the whole last bit of The Man Who Would Be King is just between Dean and Cass. Even though Bobby totally and Sam are right there, like they could feel just as betrayed, but they don't, because there is a bond there. You know?
You know.
You know?
A more profound bond, you might say.
Yes, exactly. And the thing is, Cass has now touched the souls of both of them, right?
Yeah.
He even says it. He says the exact same line to Sam. But it's just like that profound bond is just not there.
You're so right. You're so right.
So
I should say it because you're right.
Yeah. exactly.
But yeah.
And then like you've pointed this out before, and we kind of sort of touched on it at the beginning of this, but like each one of these interactions with Dean's family is the reason he becomes who he is by the end of the season.
Yeah.
Series even. And it's just like, oh yeah. It's from these moments, and it's just sad. It's just sad. My favorite specific moment is, again, very sad. Is his last moments with Lisa and Ben. He's like, look after him.
It's so hard to watch, man. It's bad because you're like, this is the wrong decision. I still feel in my heart it was the wrong decision, but like I took. And this is when you know a character is good, right? When you're like, you are making an incorrect decision, but I completely understand why you're making it, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's how you know it's good writing, good character development. When you're like, I completely disagree with you. I think you're making the wrong decision, but I completely understand you too. Like, yep. I 100% knew why he made that decision and asked Cass to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's awful. Absolutely blooming awful. But I love it because it's just, he just cares so much. But he acts like he doesn't.
It's just good tragedy. I love a good tragedy.
Yeah. And then we can move on to Sam, because Sam's less.
This was a hard season for Sam.
It is.
Yeah, you go first.
Because half of this season is him being soulless, and like, it's not good. It's not good.
Yeah, I have more to say on that later.
So like, it kind of feels like he's not really in this season.
You're right, actually. It's because he's not. It's not Sam, right, for half the season.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not Sam.
Exactly.
So he is barely in it. I agree with you. I think that's a really valid reading.
But then I guess, like, when I was really sitting down and thinking about it, like, obviously, if you clap if you believe, a lot of those moments are great. And but he is soulless in that one. So, like, yeah, again, it's not really Sam, because he's just like, he's taking the piss out of Dean the entire time, and the whole situation is just like,
there are some good lines in that. Like, yeah, that's great.
But when he's, back to himself, I think probably like the shock that he feels after killing Samuel and then there were none, and like how he suddenly like shuts down, is just like, wait, I might have not killed a monster. I'm just like, oh my god, like, you thought you killed your granddad? Oh no. Yeah. So yeah, I'm choosing all the sad moments for these seasons, by the way.
I don't know if I have a happy moment for Sam either, though. I think at the last episode, despite what I thought about it, I actually think his confrontations with like aspects of himself are all really good, because like I could see the characterization of Sam that, like we were saying, like he was absent from the beginning of the season, and then once you see him actually face to face with soulless Sam, you realize why you would think that. It's like, oh no, they are completely different people.
Yeah.
And I thought that whole bit of him basically almost like destroying that soulless aspect of himself and like reclaiming those memories, that interaction I thought was really good. I quite enjoyed that. I know it was like in a dreamscape. But I think that comes down to more like Jared's acting maybe than like necessarily a Sam moment, but I did enjoy it a lot.
Yeah,
like again, like I thought even the way he holds himself as Sam compared to soulless Sam is really different, like posturally, as well as like facial expressions. So I think if you even stood them next to each other with like not saying anything, you'd be like, oh, that's soulless Sam, but that's just like regular Sam.
Yeah, and then you see it as well with tortured Sam or Hell Sam as well.
Exactly. Like, again, like he even holds himself different. So yeah, I thought that was really good. I also like the bit in French Mistake where he's just doing stuff with his hands. Like I don't know why that's so funny to me.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
As a fellow person who never knows what to do with their hands, like I felt seen.
Yeah, it's just the awkwardness of like, just he bobs back and forth like with his shoulders.
It's so good. Like, what do you do with your hands though? What do you do with them? Where do they go? Why are they there?
Always your pockets.
Yeah. It's not very professional though to have hands in your pockets, is it?
Well, yeah, true.
If you stand, where do you put your hands?
YMCA. I don't know.
I like a good. Hang on, let me think about where I even. To be fair, I do like a pocket, but then often women's clothes don't have pockets.
That's true. Yeah.
I like a hand on the hip. Maybe I'll do that, but then it looks like I'm trying to do something with my hands. I feel.
I feel like I tend to like, especially when I have braids, which I do right now. I tend to like fiddle with them. So like I'll just just fiddle with my hair or like pick at my nails, kind of thing. Or like
I also do that.
I fidget. I think I end up just fidgeting with my hands, which is not good. But
or if you have to stand still, it's like an arm cross, which just makes you seem really unapproachable.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm actually a really nice person. It's fine. I just don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah. Because if I do anything else, I'm going to look way less approachable.
Yeah. It always reminds me of that IT crowd sketch where it's like, act normal. And they're just like posing. Just like, no more normal. And it's just like more posing. It's just that. That's my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my other favourite sound moment, just to lighten the mood.
Yeah. And if there's a key, then there must be a lock. And we'll have the lock because we have the affirmation key. It's so good. It's so good.
I love it so much. And then we'll do Cass, and I don't know if we should do Crowley as well, maybe. I mean, and I feel like we're missing out Bobby. So let's just go Cass, and then we'll do others.
Sure.
Other special mentions. So I think, my favourite Cass moment. Oh, no, it's an easy one. It's an easy one. It's the double smite. It's the double smite.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so sexy.
It's so good. That
so
didn't even
good.
cross my mind. Oh, God.
Or the smoke going back. There's too many moments.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
I don't know if you know this about me, and I may have mentioned it on the podcast before because I do nothing but bare my soul, is that hands.
Yes, we both talked about hands.
Yeah. And I realised that both of those moments involve hands. Maybe it's because I never know where to put them. Maybe that's why.
Yeah. That's what so obsessed. So you could figure out, okay, where did they figure out their hands?
Yeah, where did they do it? How did they make hands look sexy? Those are my two favourite cast moments. Yeah, shoving that demon back in his mouth. Mm-hmm. Oh, why is that weirdly sexual? Like, I don't understand because it's not. It's like, it's not written to be that way. It just is.
It just is. It
just is.
It's the face. I think it's the face with it, right?
Yeah. They're like really, yeah.
Brooding. And we all know how much Amy likes a brooding man.
I do love a brooding man. But literally, me and Anna are like recently have just been talking about my love of sad, pathetic, brooding men. That's all we talk about lately. Yeah.
Cass she's got me
in that category.
She's got me on the X-File train. I'm on season 3 now.
David Duchovny, yeah.
I mean,
specifically as Fox Mulder.
I will say I don't see it, but go off.
He's a 90s heartthrob. How can you? I don't.
Nah, I can't. I think I'm not a fan of that haircut. I think that's what it is.
No, I love the haircut. The haircut makes it. The haircut makes. Yeah.
That's
it's
hilarious.
it's the really it's the tucked in shirt with the really high trousers, like that full 90s suit look. It's just, it's amazing. He never wins a fight. Like that's.
I don't think. I'm sure I've seen him fight, but I can't remember any of them, to be honest. Yeah,
he's just constantly getting ambushed and getting his like ass handed to him. Like that's so funny to me.
It's pretty good. Talking about another brooding man who can also he can fight when he needs to, but not always. I would say my favorite moment is basically any moment in Mummy Dearest or Mommy Dearest. Like the quips that he has with Dean, and like, this is going to take for long. And just like being called a baby in a trench coat and his like upset face. I was just like,
It's great.
and then also the confrontation, like the first real personal confrontation with he has with Dean, because like usually it's like, no, I'm fighting a war and like you need to listen to me because I'm fighting a war, but this is like, no, like you cannot do the thing that you are not programmed, but like that's innate to you, Dean. You have to do this thing that I'm telling you to do, and it's just like, fuck you, I'm gonna do what I want.
It's the moment as well where like Dean's like, stop this, and he's like, what if I don't? It's such like a child moment of like, make me.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be my favorite moments. Just and obviously any moment in The Man Who Would Be King. But I was trying to go outside of the box and some of these answers just so that we had something else to talk about. But because there are other episodes in this season, but like no.
It's his little cold red nose in that episode. It's his little cold red nose in the snow. Little cold face. Yep. What about any other character moments like Bobby or Rufus or Crowley or anybody else?
Oh, I mean, Rufus was amazing. Anytime he was on screen, any word that he said in And Then There Were None, really.
Yeah.
I loved him like pointing out like it was super awkward with Samuel and the boys, and like how I'm still super upset and super annoyed at the way that they decided to end that conversation between Bobby and Rufus about like what happened. I think that was really not well done. And then like when you compare it to like Let It Bleed with Dean and Ben and Lisa, and you're like, oh, but they kind of had a relationship ending sort of that will still probably get under my skin for a while.
That's fair. I feel like one of the takeaway themes of Supernatural, we always talk about themes of Supernatural, is like there's no such thing as closure.
Yeah.
I just feel like you never get any closure in Supernatural from really anything.
So why are we doing this? I'm just kidding.
Let's just stop. Let's just turn it off. Let's just stop. Yeah. There's so many good Crowley moments that I feel like it's not even worth going through them. Yeah. He's so good in this.
He is.
I can't pick out a specific moment that I think he's just absolutely perfect in. We talked about the silly double cross. I'm not going to go into that. I think that was the only moment I didn't quite get in this. Yeah, maybe I'll pick a different one. I think that, was it this season that they said, let's Star Trek 3 this? Or was that last season?
No, it was this season.
Who said that? It was this season. That was Bobby, right? I love that. I love the idea that Bobby watches. Yes, because he said, I haven't watched, I've only watched Deep Space Nine. So it wasn't Bobby. I think it was Dean who said it. And then he said, I only watched Deep Space Nine. And I love that for him. I love the idea that, Bobby was sat at home watching Star Trek. Yep. Because there's so many Star Trek references in this season.
So many. Yeah.
And that was a pretty niche one, I feel. Yeah, I like that. And also the Khan worm. We talked about how niche that was because even as a Star Trek fan, I was like, hey, what? That was pretty good too. So yeah, that's my other character moment, I guess. I guess it's not really one. It's more of a it's nice they included this.
Yeah. I guess we didn't like any moments with Samuel. I thought that was all silly. Oh, the alpha vampire. I'm excited to have him come back.
Rick Worthy's amazing.
Yes, and I think it is just because it's Rick Worthy, to be honest.
Oh yeah, 100% makes it.
But I mean, okay, so we're gonna go into plot points in a minute, or
yes,
I'm gonna start it now because the thing that he says, the alpha vampire says to Sam in that warehouse wherever they are, is you could be the perfect monster because the soul doesn't get in the way.
Yeah. That
goes nowhere. How interesting would that been had Sam become a monster in this season? Being soulless. I think that's the one thing that we have spoken at length about in this season is how much potential it had and like how it didn't capitalize on any of it.
So, yeah, I think this is my biggest contention with this season is that I don't think from the start they nailed down what it meant to be soulless.
Right.
And they did make mention of that. So I listened to the audio commentary, and I'll talk about this a bit later. But I listened to the audio commentary on "Clap Your Hands If You Believe," and they talked about Soulless Sam. And Sarah Gamble literally said, like, "Oh, you know, we're kind of exploring what it would mean to like not have a soul and all this kind of stuff," and talking about the fact that he has no moral compass. But then it's very inconsistent, but she said that Ben Edlund basically helped iron out some of the kinks in Clap Your Hands If You Believe and like establish some like basically ground rules in the episode about Soulless Sam. I was thinking that came really late though.
That was like episode 8, so you've already had 7 episodes, right?
Yeah.
It was episode 8, I think. It was, it was like really far in.
Because she kind of said like, oh, there was stuff that established here with Soulless Sam that we like carried through. And I'm thinking like, yeah, but that's like super late. And he's like not going to be soulless for much longer. So
It was episode 9 even.
Yeah, I think they hadn't fully nailed down. Because it is such like a nebulous thing, like a soul, right? And they were saying like we were trying to get across like how much a soul means because that plays into the later season of like, you know, the fact that it's all about the souls,
right?
Which is like, you know, and we're trying to get through Soulless Sam, why their souls are so important. And I was thinking, that didn't happen.
It definitely didn't come across. And what's really funny with that is that like you're trying to establish what a soul means, but then in the end you decide to use it as a power source, so it doesn't really mean anything like in terms of like, because if anything, Soulless Sam is this thing that he can escape anything now, remember, like,
and like saying that whole thing about souls like on, and I think it's almost like they told on themselves, because there's this feature in the DVDs about like, it's called like the Quest for a Soul or something. What is it called?
Quest for a Soul. Yep.
Yeah, A Quest for a Soul. And it kind of starts talking about Soulless Sam, and then it goes into like theological knowledge about like what a soul could possibly be, and like it's a very weird feature, but it's not the first time they've done this kind of stuff in the DVDs. They did it with like the 4 Horsemen and stuff. But I was just like, it's almost telling on yourself that you didn't know either. You hadn't decided because you've included this like featurette on like what is a soul,
and it's 30 minutes too. It's not like it's something so really. It's really long. I'm gonna admit I didn't finish it. I got maybe 10 minutes in, and I was like, how does any of this relate to the episodes that you've shown us about Soulless Sam?
I didn't get it.
It didn't. Oh, it's
a weird feature. I don't know. I didn't watch it either. And I watched a lot of other stuff on the DVDs, and I did not watch that. I skipped into it. I was like, okay, this is what they're doing. They're talking about, because I thought they were going to talk about precisely what we're talking about. Is like, what does it mean to be soulless? But it was not that. No. Yeah. So I think it's just very telling.
Yeah. And I mean, they had a really good opportunity, because I think they had Robert Singer, Sarah Gamble, Eric Kripke, Ben Edlund, and Phil Shagrisha from like production, having like these spot interviews in between, having like a reverend and some woman who said in some circles she's famous or infamous. I don't know who she is. I don't remember her name at this point, but she was like a theologist of some kind. I don't know what kind, but I was just like, what are we doing? What is this?
Yeah, like, what is this? I guess it's maybe interesting. It's this kind of things that you have like pre-internet days where people didn't actually just go and like Google stuff and do their own research and things that they were interested in. It's like, oh, here's the kind of research that we did before we went into this. Like, let's share it with you. Like, that's kind of cool from that perspective. But yeah, it's just I just was like, so done with the soulless bit. I'm like,
Yeah.
why did you make the whole season about it?
Yeah. Yeah, and like it's just no, I don't understand it. And you had mentioned it before in another episode. I can't remember which one it is at this moment. That like so Soulless Sam going on for so long is probably the reason why there's no other story arc that goes on that long anymore.
Yeah, I really do actually think that might be the case, because I feel like they kind of overdid it.
Yeah.
And if they had brought in the other aspects of souls, maybe more fluidly, I feel, and tied it a bit better to him being soulless. Like, I could even think of ways to do it now. Like, you could say, like, oh, we've got a lead on Sam's soul, and they go, like, have a look to find these souls, and they find that they're being, like, bartered on the black market or whatever through, you know, and they're like, oh, wow, okay, souls so souls have a power, like, and then they could think about, like, what if Sam's has been consumed by, like, an angel or a demon or something, and it maybe not lead anywhere, but it kind of gives the idea that these are being used for some other purpose. Whereas, like, we're just told about it off screen mostly, and then shown it at the end. Death mentions it a few times as well. Like, souls are really powerful. It's all about the souls. But like, they definitely could have tied it better with Soulless Sam's like search for his soul.
Right, and they had a really good opportunity actually in The Third Man, because that was where Balthazar was introduced, and having that kid sell his soul to an angel, and that whole like, because that's also where they established where they were saying like souls have power, but then they kind of back away from that for a while, and then it comes back to like, and like I say, Sam's suddenly this like superhuman who doesn't need to sleep, he doesn't need to do this, that, and the other. But like, I don't get how that's related to like not having soul. And they never will explain that, because I think Donatello doesn't go through the same thing. I think he just is a bit of an asshole.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just a bit. That's my main, because we're talking about plot points, and I said it over and over again. I think the storyline is the main problem with this season, and I feel like it's almost like they didn't want to commit to a storyline until they got to the end and were like, oh yeah, we're getting picked up. We have to kind of commit to a storyline, and we've decided this is going to be the Cass and Crowley storyline of Purgatory, but we only have 3 episodes left to do it. It can't be the case though, because I also watched, and this is interesting and does tie in. So I watched the feature that they have on the DVD about Jensen Ackles directing for the first time, and they do this whole like little feature on him. Did you watch this too?
I did not. I'm going to go back and watch it. So yeah.
You totally should watch this, because I think it gives a really good insight into like behind the scenes stuff on Supernatural and how much prep work goes into it. And some of it made me really mad because I'm like, so much prep work goes into this. Like, they must have had it all planned out like this season. And because they've not have seen that it was like backloaded the end of this season. It also kind of makes, I mean, there was nothing wrong with this feature. It was really sweet. I really liked this, and I'll talk about it a bit more in a minute because I thought it was really nice. But seeing how much prep work and stuff they kind of used to do on Supernatural, and all the thoughts they would have to make and all the decisions they would make about really like small things, I just wonder where that all went in season 15. Like, where did all, like, because it feels like there wasn't the same level of attention to detail as there was here. And I don't know if it's because like it's so gone on so long or whatever, but it just feels like a shame. And I have a really specific point, not from this actually, it's from one of the audio commentaries where I was like, you're saying that this had so much, you put so much thought into this, but then apparently no one thought about it
again,
like 10 years later. Yeah, I don't know.
Also, it's funny because I watched just the commentary of The French Mistake, and I think it was Sarah Gamble that pointed out that their first AD, Keith, Kevin,
Yeah.
One of the two.
Yeah.
He was basically the encyclopedia for Supernatural. Like, he was saying that he would say that, oh, that's not how you kill a skinwalker. Like, we did it in this episode that in this way. And I'm wondering if he, like, at some point left.
Yeah.
They didn't have somebody like that on set anymore.
I think that this is part of it, is like, there was, I think mostly the production crew stayed on, which is like, to be fair, really unusual, right, for a show to stay on that long. But they must have had some turnover. Like Sarah Gamble, for example, like wasn't there in season 15. It was actually something in the French Mistake commentary that she said that like pinged my brain. So there was a Tumblr post that someone wrote about 1520. The reference is from You Changed Me, Dean, on Tumblr, and they're talking about why the outfits in 1520 are cursed. That's the name of the post, and it's going through about like the choices they must have made for those outfits and what the different articles of clothing mean. It's a really in-depth post, and you should go and read it. It's excellent. But the reason that I thought about it was that during the commentary on the French Mistake, Sarah Gamble says, oh, you know, there's some decisions that like keep you up at night. And she said, you know, when they were teleported into our universe, or not our universe, like the real world, do we keep Sam and Dean's clothes, or do they change into wardrobe? And she said, like, she literally spent like 3 days thinking about what they were going to wear in this episode. She's like, it was like, just kept me up at night. But eventually she decided that they would wear the same outfits the whole way through this episode. She's like, people probably wouldn't notice that, but like, that's the decision I made, and that's what made sense. And then I thought about this post about 1520 and how much thought had gone into the outfits in this. And they had specifically said in those interviews that they'd chosen outfits that were reminiscent of season 1, episode 1. But then actually they weren't really matches at all. You know, so it was just an interesting, I think the two things are very closely linked to like how much thought they do put into wardrobe. So maybe the outfits in 1520 like did matter in the way that this person on Tumblr is saying that they did. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really interesting post as well. I think you should go and read it.
Yeah, definitely. That moment also stood out to me because she was like, oh, I don't think the fans would notice like that they didn't change. And I was just thinking, nah, we spent a long time, not a long time, but we did spend time. Like some of the questions that came up in that commentary, I was just like, oh, like it showed, like it proved to me that Ben Edlund is a fan of the show.
Yeah.
Because some of the questions he was asking were the same questions we were asking. And like Sarah Gamble was like, oh no, we can't think about that because our brains will just melt. And I was just like, yeah, but we were all thinking this. Like one of the things that came up was like, what happened to the original Sam and Dean? Like what happens when they come back? And like, Ben even like talked about how the fans were like insane at these conventions and stuff like that. And I was like, yo, he's been to one.
He knows.
He knows.
Yeah. I thought the whole audio commentary, we can talk about it now if you want because we're already into it. I thought the whole audio commentary for the French Mistake was really interesting. I just sat and listened to it because I was like, most of it is quite like, we are really smart for thinking this idea. I will be honest, like that's like 50%.
Yes, I agree. What did surprise me though is that Kripke was still on Icon writing staff at this point.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but he's mentioned in Clap Your Hands If You Believe as well.
Okay.
I think Sarah Gamble says something along the lines of like, he's here, but he's not here. He's here in spirit.
And also that like Kripke had actually like pitched an episode like this before, but just never had like a gateway to do it. Sarah Gamble said the angels were a doorway to freedom, and that Ben Edlund was like, yeah, but we kind of had the trickster before. He's
just there, really thinking about things. Yeah,
and he's like, well, I guess he turned into Gabriel, so it's just like, but I'm not entirely sure why Robert Singer was there. I don't really remember any of the comments that he had particularly made on that that were sort of standout-ish.
I don't have anything written down that he said. He's usually just like, this is a good shot, or this is why we couldn't do this. That's basically why, which is fine. That's you know. Yeah.
There was one thing that he did point out this is obviously them going back and watching it, so they've already filmed
Yeah.
like all of the season. And he was saying that he had just finished like 622 and had actually said the line, "What's happening?" Because they had like a whole bunch of false starts and stuff.
Yeah.
So
That's
he was
really
just
funny.
like,
That was funny, yeah.
That was pretty good. I want to know what originally Ben Edlund had written, because he was talking about like how he wasn't sure of how to write like a massacre, but he wanted to have a massacre in it. But Kripke was like, "Oh yeah, no, yeah, that's fine. Like you can kill me off. Like
Yeah.
do it." Like so.
I think they said that Eric Kripke was enthusiastically asking to be killed on screen. I mean, obviously, it's not him. No one plays themselves apart from one of the
son, Lou.
Yeah.
Not
Not
even
even
anyone who.
I'm surprised that's not even Sarah Gamble's voice, because it sounds so much like her.
It did, and I find it really funny what she said about that. She was like,
Yeah.
I would have done it much more, well, I did do it much more sympathetically, and this person did it way more bitchy, and I was like, how do you deliver those lines
Yeah.
sympathetically?
Yeah. No, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about Sarah Gamble in listening to that commentary. I will say that.
Me too. Yeah.
And I'm not going to say any more than that. I'm just going to leave it as it was. Ben Edlund really did put a lot of thought into the editing of this episode, because he's talking about how, like, I guess is a technical term of like breaking the script to get to where that gets to. And they were like trying to figure out how to get them to act, and like how they broke it down to get them to that point, because there's no need for them to act. They have no interest in acting, but they have to do it anyway.
Yeah.
But like, I never questioned that. When he said it, I was like,
Me too.
wait, of course they have to act. They're on set.
Yeah.
Like, so he's just really good at, like, he put that much thought into it for it to then make sense.
Yeah, exactly. And that's good writing, that like things happen and you don't question why they're happening. You know, that's good. That is good writing generally. I like the little tidbit that like Misha was just really enthusiastic about just like wanting to warp his perception that fans had of him in The French Mistake by like being kind of mean and kind of, and that he chose the sweater himself. That that was great as well. I think I knew that already, but like to hear it again, I was like, that's so true.
You're right that he, like, Ben Edlund's in love with Misha, because he was like, he even styled his hair this way, and I was like, I did not even
Didn't even notice.
No, not at all. That he had his hair like gelled in a different way. Like, it could be because it was dark as well, but like after he mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah,
of course it is. Yeah. Of course it's different.
Because Robert Singer pointed out that, like, oh yeah, you directed your first episode later in this season. And Ben was like, yeah, after doing that, I realized I write a lot of things that are really difficult to do on screen. And maybe I won't do that again.
I think Sarah Gamble put it well, that like they come up with the ideas and then Bob Singer like helps them handshake reality. I thought that was a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I feel like, I do feel like we've given Bob Singer like a bad rap at some points, but like, I think it must have been kind of his job to be like, no, you can't do that. So it's kind of like a bit of like, rein it in, a bit of a killjoy, but like necessarily so. Otherwise, nothing would have made sense ever.
Yeah, and I think we just make fun of his directorial style. I think that's just what it is.
Zooms. I love them so much. Yeah,
because it's just funny. Like,
it is funny.
The zooms. You can just tell he's from old television.
I love the cheesiness of it. But it does add to the feel of Supernatural. Like, what would Supernatural be without a dramatic zoom? Like, I don't know if I'd watch it, you know?
Yeah. I'm just thinking of The Man Who Knew Too Much.
Oh, yeah.
Those were some great scenes.
So good. So good. The other bits I have is like, they said that this episode couldn't really happen without the Supernatural fandom, because it was kind of like written in, I think Sarah Gamble said, direct dialogue with the fans. That she was like, it has to be like, there has to be things that like not casual viewers will be like, you know, like fandom people be like, that's really funny. But they had to try and get the tone between that and then people who just like switch on every now and then for it to make sense.
Yeah.
And I think they did that kind of well.
I agree. I think they maybe overthought it a little too much with like how much, well, maybe not, because the episode works, but like the way that she was explaining it of like, they didn't know how pulling back the curtain and showing how TV is made would affect the fans, and like how they would have to go back into the real supernatural world and be like, no, this is not, like, the fourth wall is back up. Yeah. But I think they didn't do it well because Sam hitting the wall even made them laugh.
I know, right? You're like, wait, we know it's a set though.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, there is a fourth wall, right? You have to acknowledge there is one. And they do break it often in Supernatural. And it's kind of okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't take away my, like... It doesn't take away any enjoyment of the show, knowing that the fourth wall was there, right? The one I think of is when it's in, like, fan fiction, where she says, like, you can't spell subtext without sex, and, like, Dean looks at the camera. Like, they're always breaking... That happens. It happens a lot, right? Yeah. Kath looking at the camera in The Man Who Would Be King.
Exactly. Having Chuck look at this camera at the end of season 5. And the thing is, Supernatural is so fantastical, right? That it's not outside of the realm of possibilities that they could get transported to a world where there is no magic.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
Be brought back. This is not outside of the realm of possibilities. So even though, yes, the TV show exists in another world. Yeah. You as a viewer, like even a casual viewer, is going to just enjoy like this one-off, right? It's not, I don't think it was that big of a like revelation.
The thing is, like, you watch a show like this and you kind of watch it because it's not real. So you don't, like, it's fine to be reminded that it's not real, I think. And you can easily switch your brain back to, like, into the normal mode. I don't know if maybe that's just us as, like, fandom people who watch a lot of this kind of TV shows. Maybe that's true. But I can easily be watching something and fully believe what's going on the screen, but also knowing, like, it's not real, so it's fine. You know? But yeah. I did enjoy their commentary. I think that was the only other things I had. Oh, apart from the fact that the cowboy picture, they don't know where it came from either.
And they don't know where it is.
No, I reckon it's in Jared's
It
house.
is Photoshopped though.
And a big revelation that Ben Edlund was supposed to be in this episode too, or at least an actor playing Ben Edlund. Yeah. And then they just didn't. They cut him out. And this is sad. So.
Yeah. So they just made a reference to his writing instead.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I enjoyed the audio commentary. It's like I said, most of it's just like, we're so smart for thinking of this idea.
Yeah.
It's good.
Are you there?
I also listened to the audio commentary of Clap Your Hands If You Believe. I always get the name of that wrong. But I made more notes on this than the French Mistake, because I feel like the French Mistake's kind of done to death. So Ben Edlund, it's the same people. So it's Ben Edlund, Sarah Gamble, Bob Singer. Ben Edlund said this was supposed to be a homage to the X-Files, obviously, because of the opening sequence. But they had someone who used to work on the crew, and I can't remember who they said their name was, but he also used to work on the X-Files. And sometimes they used to come to him with ideas of like stuff they would do. And he would say like, oh, we thought about doing that on the X-Files and this is why it didn't work.
That's really weird.
Because the joke is, and the joke we always make as well, is like, it's been done on the X-Files before. Like everything they've done has been done on the X-Files before. And they're very aware of that, which I thought was of course they are. Yeah. They also said that the music for the opening was on like version 12. It took so long for them to get it past like lawyers and stuff because it was the guy who was composing it just was making it too close to the X-Files theme. This was a really interesting point from Ben Edlund. He was saying like, obviously they wanted the fake out of like, it's not aliens, it's fairies. But it was impossible to do so because they were talking about the season at Comic-Con before it aired and they were saying that there were fairies in the season. And then he was like, but then there's all the teaser trailers on the CW too and they like ruin it, whatever. So he was saying, well, you know, someone who's rewatching this in 5 years, they can get the surprise. So I was interesting that he's thinking of people who are like rewatching it later on. I thought that was really cute.
That's what I'm saying. He's a fan of the show.
He's a fan of the show. He wanted loads more stuff for this episode. He was talking about like there was a point where someone was going to get skewered by a unicorn, which was quite funny. And there was like a garden gnome sequence as well, where they were like chased by a garden gnome.
That would be amazing. That would be really amazing.
Again, they were talking about like Eric Kripke was still involved, and the thing that I said about Bob Singer taking impossible ideas and making them possible, like actually think about how they're going to do stuff. Because they're like for the fairy sequence, they originally wanted like a tiny lady, and like Ben Edlund wanted a tiny lady, but he realizes that actually if you strip it back and make it simplistic, like it actually does work better. And he said that's the thing he has to get past in his own writing, is like sometimes like not seeing things makes it better. Yes, he's right. Yeah.
He wanted to Moulin Rouge it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's right. Oh yeah. So Ben Edlund made the exact same analogy that we made of Soulless Sam, because he called him Pinocchio. And then went on to say like, oh yeah, he doesn't have like a moral compass or whatever, and he just wants to be like a real boy. And I was like, yeah, we were talking in that whole episode about like Dean being his like Jiminy Cricket.
Yep.
So I thought that was really neat. I tell you, us and Ben Edlund were at wavelength. Same.
Yep. Because he's a fan of the show. I'm just kidding.
He's a fan of the show. They talked a lot about Soulless Sam in this audio commentary, like about the fact that it doesn't mean that they're evil. It just means that they have no ethical barometer. That's how Sarah Gamble put it, which is kind of what we said. But they were like, oh, we're fascinated by the soullessness aspect. Like, what does it mean? And like, it's really nice we get to explore it. And I was just thinking it was too long.
It was way too long, especially since like it took so long for anybody to figure out that something wrong there was something wrong with Sam.
Yeah.
It wasn't until episode 6, like, you can't handle the truth, that is sort of like really put in your face that there is something supernaturally wrong with Sam.
I agree with you. It's just stretched out way too much.
Yeah.
They talked a lot about like Jared and Jensen and how good they were, obviously, but also like a lot of the funny moments in Supernatural are mostly ad-libbed by them. So like in this episode, the examples were where Sam's been having like sex with that lady in one of the motel beds, and then like Dean walks in and he sits in the bed originally, and then he's like, oh, and like gets up on the other bed. Like that was just Jensen doing that. And the other one was the "Can I have a bigger cup?" That was Jared like ad-libbing as well, which I thought was really good. So that's nice little moments from that. Right, yes. And then the last point that I got from this, there was other stuff in here as well. They were talking about how Supernatural, I don't know how this topic came up, I can't remember. Ben Edlund was talking about how Supernatural never really got picked up by what he called special interest groups for like being bad, because he was like, considering we like talk about like the Christian God and angels and things, like I'm surprised we never got flagged by like mums groups or like Christian groups, whatever, about like don't watch this show. It's like that never happened. And then he said specifically because we made God like a pulp novelist that's gone missing, so he's on the Chuck is God. He knew that Chuck was God. I just thought it was in a I was like, yes, he knew. And then I know, but so he like specifically said like, yeah, that's like Chuck is God in this audio commentary, and I just thought it was a big revelation for me.
Right, because whoa, because this was what's the word I'm looking for? This was done at the same time. Like this was probably done maybe at the beginning of filming of season 7.
Yeah,
like Chuck is God doesn't come out for a while yet.
I know they did the whole him fading out into existence, like maybe he was God all along kind of thing, but they never really like confirmed it until way, right? I know. So I was like, what? And I wrote it down, I was like underlining. Talking about like the the special interest group that he was saying, like Bob Singer was saying that they he feels that they handle things pretty sympathetically, and it's kind of almost so far removed from reality that no one really like flags it as being blasphemous. Essentially, I think that's kind of the point he was getting across. That's not a direct quote, but I thought that was interesting because there was like outrage about, like, I remember Lucifer getting like a lot of mums groups or whatever, like saying don't watch this show, but I don't remember that ever happening with Supernatural.
And I mean, it could just be that, like, well, Supernatural is big to us. I'd
so
already
true.
said this in The Man Who Would Be King. Like,
Yeah.
well, I didn't say this, actually, you said it. I was like, oh, it's big, but you're like, is it though? It's niche enough that it kind of slipped under the radar, I think.
Yeah, that was the 2 audio commentaries on there. I watched both of them and I got different things from... all I got from it mostly was that I still love Ben Edlund, and like I wish I could just sit down and have a conversation with him about how his brain worked on Supernatural, and like, yeah, I don't know. It's just, he's just on the same wavelength of like caring about this show. Talking about that, because that's a nice segue, I say I did also watch the director's journey for Jensen, because he directed obviously A Weekend at Bobby's.
Right.
And this was really cute. I think it's like half an hour or so. I would like go and watch it. It's really nice. All it is like half an hour of them saying nice things about Jensen and watching him like work hard and be really sincere. So it was really cute. What was really nice, and this is, I think people who maybe go to conventions would be like, wow, this is a different side of him. They have like a little interview with Mark Shepard talking about how great Jensen is as a director and what a nice guy he is. And he's like so sincere. And I'm like, no, this is who Mark Shepard is. I know he comes across as like gruff at conventions, but this all like, it's all an exterior. Like he's genuinely a nice person. And yeah, the stuff he says in it is like so complimentary and stuff. Like it's really, really sweet. I think they asked him to sum up his directorial style in like 3 words, and he said smart, efficient, and generous. Oh, I know, right? It's really nice. They also had Jim Beaver like asking how he did, and he was like, oh, I had high expectations, and he like surpassed it. It's just it's really nice stuff. But the interesting part of it is seeing how much work goes into these like the scenes and everything. I think the main one they kind of make the story about, like for this little feature, was the wood chipper scene in Weekend at Bobby's, and how technically difficult it was, and how kind of like Jensen was nervous about having to do it because it was like 3 a.m. shoot and it was like technically difficult. They had stunts and visual effects and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And like how he eventually obviously like smashed it.
Of course.
But yeah, I think anybody who's like interested in that kind of like production side of it, I thought it was really, really cool.
Yeah, I have to go back and watch it. I somewhat got ready for this episode and somewhat didn't. Like I thought about more of like my favorite moments than like all the extras. I think after watching the beginning of that like A Quest for a Soul, I kind of put me off of watching anything else.
See, I did it the other way. I started from the beginning, went to the end. So, but yeah, it was good. The one thing that is like obviously they've talked about previously is like how much time pressure they're under and like how they have to get things done really quickly, which we knew anyway. But yeah, it was good. I'd say go back and watch it, especially if you like anything to do with like kind of Jensen Ackles. Like, he's in it a lot. Yay! Obviously, but it's really I thought one of the most interesting things is watching things being filmed, and then they would cut it with the final scene, so you could see how all the lighting and stuff. Because like there's
differs.
Jim Beaver fighting the Akami, like the actress is playing the Akami, and obviously it's like really well lit on the scene, but then they've obviously added all the filters and things in post production, and it's like so much darker. But
I mean,
it's so
you kind of see that with the like outtake stuff as well, the gag reels.
Yeah, exactly.
As well. But
it was interesting to see like a whole scene, and then like it looks completely different to like how it's kind of acted out. I always find that kind of interesting. Always. Yeah. But yeah, it was cute. That was the only really other feature on the DVD. I said there weren't any deleted scenes other than an extended cut of them being like silly on the French Mistake.
Yeah.
Which is good.
I wish they could have kept more of the acting, because like it was so good.
Yeah.
It was so good. But I can understand why they didn't. Obviously they have time time constraints for the actual
Mhm.
episode. Talking about the gag reel. Any
Mhm.
standout moments on that one? It was all fun.
It's all good. I watched it straight after I watched the finale because I was like, this kind of bummed me out. I want to watch it again. I mean, finale, I mean like the last episode of season 6. Yeah, it was good. There's some fun moments in there. You can see they're all becoming more and more friends. They're all like more and more comfortable with each other, like in each gag reel, which is always really fun to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no real like standout moments for me. I think you know them all. It's quite fun.
The worm stash. I'm not
the
gonna
worm
eat it.
stash.
I'm gonna wear it as a worm stash.
Absolute classic. He looks so young. Misha looks so young in this season generally. Like he looks really different. And he even sounds like a little different as well, I think. Like obviously in the outtakes where he's not putting on his cast voice.
Yeah.
He even sounds a bit different. I'm like, yeah. It's not been that long.
What I thought was really funny, actually. So we've talked about how like this is a very Dean-centric season.
Yeah.
But I feel like the gag reel was a lot of Sam.
Oh yeah.
Or
I think
Jared.
that's just Jared Padalecki. I think
That's
he's
true.
an absolute menace, just from context of what people have said at convention.
That's true. And like apparently Jensen never messes up, so it's like a really rare thing for that to happen.
He's some kind of like script reading maniac, right? They said he just like reads it once and like does it or something. Like, wow, how and why?
Yeah, I guess it's wild, absolutely wild.
And then like Ruth has said before about Mark Sheppard that he's just like a consummate professional because, you know, he came from the theatre. So he's just like, while I'm on set, I'm just doing it. But I think that kind of relaxes over the seasons as well.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think there's definitely a difference. You can see the difference sometimes, especially when you're watching gag reels, not just in Supernatural but other shows, of actors who have acted on the stage and those who haven't like done as much on the stage. Because the ones who have obviously usually get quicker takes. I think Martin Freeman, if you've ever watched any of his like scenes that he does, he just like he does a take and he goes back and he does it again slightly different and again slightly different, but they're all kind of perfect. And then he's just like, so they have so many to choose from of him, different ways of him doing it. It's like, it's wild. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing some of that from like Sherlock and The Hobbit. Yeah.
Because people ask why there's not many gag reels for other shows. And I think maybe they just like don't mess around as much.
They don't have a Jared Padalecki on set who just messes with the cast members. Yeah.
Because sometimes I watched they did some gag reels for some of the Marvel stuff, right? And I'm just like, this feels so forced.
Yeah.
I like how we sidestepped plot points.
I know, because we've talked about so many of them.
I think we have as well. Yeah.
If there is something that you want to point out, like, go for it.
No, that was going to be my point, that I feel like in the last episode and the episode before, we kind of have done it to death and like the problems we had with this season. And I feel like we've bad-mouthed it enough.
This is supposed to be a little more lighthearted, yeah.
Exactly, right. So, yeah. And I think we've already said, like, there are some good episodes in this season. Like, I'm not Here's my main takeaway from season 6, which I think this is what this is for, and then I can leave it behind and season 6 is done.
Yes.
This season is a transitional season, and I think that's why it's hard. Any kind of transition is hard, and I think it needs to be there to get us to season 7, where I feel like the plot picks up again. I know people really rag on season 7, but actually, thinking on it now, I feel like it's kind of okay. Oh, I'm saying that now. I'm so going to eat those words.
Well, so here's the thing, all right? So I took out in 619. We had already agreed that we were going to take it out. So I'm not like, this isn't some sort of thing. But we were going through how the end of season 6 happened.
We were so wrong.
We were completely wrong.
Yeah, we were so wrong.
We were going into season 7.
Yes, yeah.
So there is clearly like a smooth transition between the end of season 6 and into season 7, because it flows so well.
Yeah.
Which I'm then interested to see how that goes into the rest of season 7. Like, does, because I know we get back to the, like, what's his name, Mr. Gibbs. I've forgotten what the actor's name is, but like that whole thing with having them changing their identities and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So if but like, and then we get Charlie in next season as well.
That's so true. I'm so hyped for Charlie. Oh my gosh, I forgot. Yeah.
So like there are things that are going to happen in season 7 that I'm like really excited for, but then I'm like, okay, but what are those in between episodes? Are they the ones that are kind of like season 6 where they're just like, they're not that good, but there are standout moments? And I'm wondering if that's maybe not so much the case. And it's just like the reason why people don't like season 7 is because of how it maybe ends, or like the Leviathan are not really all that interesting in the end or something. I know that there's a whole joke about the dick joke thing.
I love that though.
I'm there for it. We both have like humor of a 12-year-old boy, and it's fine. But I feel like there is more to the season, and we get introductions to Garth. So I'm just like, we're starting to build the roster of hunters again.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it.
Yeah. I feel like Soulless Sam was a bump in the road, and now we got like smooth sailing, at least for a bit, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's been because this is how I feel like season 7 goes down, so you can all judge me when it's not like this, right? We have like 3 episodes maybe of Godstiel. Maybe less than that. And then Cass goes and disappears for a bit, and he was supposed to be dead forever, but he comes back. And then we have our introductions to the Leviathan, and it takes them a while to figure out what they are. That's a few episodes.
Yep.
And then
how to kill them.
Yeah, and figure out how to kill them and stuff. During this time is the time that like Sam and Dean get copied by the Leviathans, and they have to go on the run because they're pretending to be them. Eventually they find Cass has come back somehow. He's done a Palpatine. He returns somehow. Mm-hmm. And now he hasn't got any memories, and he's married to a lady.
Yes.
Remember this? Yeah. But then, because that's right, because Sam, no, this is the beginning of the season, because Sam's in the hospital because he's seeing Lucifer. So the whole, like, Leviathan copying them bit must be back end of the season, because then Cass takes on Sam's like crazy. Right. And then we get the rest of the Leviathan plot, and they're going to try and shove them back into purgatory, blah, 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 blah. Dean and Cass explode at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, and Bobby dies.
Balls.
Yeah.
Even.
Balls. Yeah. That's my summary of season 7. It made no sense. That's all I remember. I remember that, and the really specific scene with the gross sandwich.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why that's stuck in my brain.
And somewhere along the line, they find a tablet in there, right?
Oh, do they? Is the whole search for God thing happening with the amulet? Is that season?
Wait. Not amulet?
Because eventually... No, that's already happened.
Yeah, that's already happened. The amulet,
There's another one. Yeah, with the glowing...
No. I think that's something else. But no, that because they want to open up something that they have, because this Kevin gets introduced in season 8 because it's something we need to talk about as Kevin, and they realize he's a prophet, right?
I feel like tablet is next season.
Season 8?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I'm going to be wrong. I don't remember. Everything's a big blur. There's a lot of episodes.
And tablets become like a huge thing for the rest. Like once they're introduced, they're just like herpes. They suck around.
They do stick around. Just like herpes. Yeah. But like ultimately, I guess I am excited for season 7. I'm excited for the dick jokes. I'm excited for the bad CGI Leviathans. I feel like they're going to look bad. To us now.
Yep. Me too.
And I'm excited for Emmanuel Cass with his little jumper. and whatever's going on between Dean and Cass in this season, because it gets wild.
Yeah, it's yeah. Takes a while for them to build their relationship back up. They have to go fight in Purgatory together before.
Oh, look, the best thing about season 7 is that it's just before season great / season 8. Okay, I can't wait. We're not that far off now. It's getting there.
We're getting there.
It's season 8. Yes, peak.
Yep.
Peak Supernatural.
Peak Supernatural. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. I think. Oh, I guess one last question.
Yeah.
Who would you have liked to see more of in this season?
Oh yeah. I guess, do you know what, actually? Like, I wish Samuel Campbell actually mattered to the storyline, so I kind of wish he was in it more. Like, I think that's well, again, one of my bugbears with this is that ultimately I don't understand why he was brought back. Did Cass bring Samuel Campbell back too? That was never actually fully explained. Presumably he did.
Yeah, because who else could do it?
Yeah, it must have been Cass, because he took him from heaven. Yeah. So, but they never say, did you bring my granddad back too? Right.
Crowley wanted Dean to come back to get into Purgatory, but he had a backup plan in Samuel Campbell, but that doesn't make sense because Samuel Campbell knows more than Dean. And it was because of Samuel that they could kill Eve.
Mm-hmm.
So was it just a happy mistake? Because if they hadn't brought back Samuel, they never would have found out how to kill Eve. So if they hadn't killed Eve, they could have opened Purgatory earlier because she wouldn't have been dead. But like nobody was there to come collect Eve either. I don't know.
Right. There are many plot holes in season 6.
Yeah.
There are many. And one of them I think is Samuel Campbell. Like, I don't understand. I don't really understand why he was in it. I feel like the whole plot could have worked with just Soulless Sam, like being all rogue by himself as well.
Yeah.
I can't think of a reason why it wouldn't work otherwise. But yeah, I wish I'd seen more of him to make his character worth it. And also just add a bit more family drama.
Right.
Family drama. Because I really didn't feel the stakes were very high with him. Like, I want to bring back Mary. It's like, no, she's been dead so long, man. Just go back to heaven and hang out with her there.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, because again, so much potential. And then we never see Samuel Campbell again.
Nope.
Even when Mary comes back, and they don't even talk about the fact that they met their grandfather multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
Once in the past, once in the present. And you're just like, when I was first watching it first round through, you don't really think about it. On a rewatch, you're just like, oh no, we need what was it, Lebanon?
Yeah.
We needed the whole family back for that one.
There was so much wrong with Lebanon. Oh, we will get there. We will get there. Yeah, that's going to be a long old one. What about you? Who would you like to have seen more of? I think I can guess.
I mean, obviously there is Rufus.
Yeah.
Obviously. But I don't know in what context to see more of Rufus. I mean, any context is fine with me, to be honest. But outside the obvious, is there anyone else? I mean, I did point out Crowley, but that's because I forgot he was dead, quote unquote. I mean, we've talked about it at length, so I'll just say it very, very briefly. We needed to see the Angel War.
Yeah.
We needed to see it in some kind of way.
So more Raphael, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, just generally more angels. I agree with you. Yeah. I'm glad we're done with season 6, I'll be honest. I'm ready to move on. I think there are episodes that I would watch from season 6 again. I don't know if I'd watch it in its entirety again. That makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, there are plenty of episodes that you can skip because they just hurt your brain more than anything.
I think so. If you already know the story, you definitely can just like hit the high points of season 6. And there are high points. There are, promise.
Yep. Yeah, there are. Yeah.
So yeah, I think let's wrap it on up. We've already said we're excited for season 7, and
we are.
So next episode will be our blooper reel.
Yeah.
And then the episode after that will be season 7, episode 1. So yeah, get excited with us for that. I'm looking forward to God's Deal. I am. I think there's some fun things in there.
Yeah. So it's called Meet the New Boss. Is that episode?
It's Cass. Cass is the boss. He's the boss.
Yep. He's the boss.
He's the boss.
Awesome. So at the end of the episode, we'd like to thank the Pixel Agora for his amazing logo art. And if you'd like to find that on a sticker, a coaster, or a t-shirt, you can get that on our Redbubble store. We are also all over social media. So come tell us about how excited you are for season 7. We're technically halfway through almost. Halfway through season 7. We'd be halfway through.
I know.
The show. That's so insane.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're here. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Everybody. So yeah, come talk to us on social media. We are on Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and YouTube. As Escaping Purgatory Podcast, or just Escaping Podcast on Blue Sky.
That's right. So this week we sat around the campfire and made some pancakes. Oh, I have a recipe for you. Jam sandwiches dipped in pancake batter and fried over a campfire taste like jam donuts. So try that. And hopefully next week we can find our way out. Bye.
Bye.